newsroom. It's definitely starting to feel like crunch time. Markets dipping at the start of the week to a 2-year low. Markets, by the way, not the only ones feeling the crunch. Workers and the jobless feeling the pinch of austerity and staging a general strike in Italy on the day its Senate approves a constitutional amendment to curb public deficits. Over in Madrid this Tuesday evening, trade unions staging their own mass rally against a similar amendment, calling for it to be put to a referendum. Times are bad for politicians, especially incumbents. Just ask Germany's chancellor after her party's weekend defeat in regional elections. So, what is the plan? Reports suggest that politicians are doing more than just stage managing public reassurances. There are reports of plans afoot to bolster the weight of Brussels institutions. Do possible moves towards what some believe should be a United States of Europe make sense? Are they being fleshed out with the blessing or in spite of public opinion? Today in the France 24 debate, we're going to be talking about do you go all the way to save the euro? And we expect to be joined just shortly from Brussels by a German member of the European Parliament, Yorgo Chatzimarkakis of the Liberal Free Democrats. With us here in the studio, Raquel Garrido, National Secretary for the Party of the Left here in France, the Partie de Gauche. Welcome. Also with us, Ali Fatemi, who teaches finance at the American Graduate School of Economics. Thanks for being with us again. And Bruno Jambard, Director of a polling institute, Opinion Way, to give us the view on that fickle public opinion when it comes to this issue. Your comments, by the way, always appreciated on the France 24 debate Facebook page, and if they fit in 140 characters or less, also on Twitter, where our handle is @FrancoisF24. You can also, by the way, follow our guests there. So, Europe's exchanges. They've lost nearly 10% of their value in the last 4 trading sessions. The Paris CAC 40 dropping another 1.3% this Tuesday. Look at the numbers there. The CAC 40 under the symbolic 3,000 point level. Not all of it is linked to that bad debt that's floating about Europe. Still, stocks in the banking sector taking a particularly bad pounding. And while markets want the debt mess cleaned up, demonstrators in places like Madrid and Rome don't want to be the ones to pay.
This is an unjust, useless financial law and also uncivilized and irresponsible. The slogan of our movement is, those who pay very little must pay more, and those who have never paid must pay.
Ali Fatemi, right now, it's, as we said, pretty tough being a politician.
It's not much easier being an economist because most of your predictions come out wrong and you're expected to know when there are so many variables. But the essential thing that I think economists can do and politicians can't is that economists can remain impartial. They try to remain impartial and detached. Politicians' lives depends on what's going on. And the problem basically with European politicians has been that they have been consistently one step behind events. When decisions had to be taken, they have shied away from it. And as the conditions get worse, decisions become more and more difficult. And I think now we are really at a crossroad. Unless some decisions are made about a structural reform about Europe, we are not going to get anywhere. And then we can talk about structural problems with the European economy, inflexible labor laws, lack of competitivity, and the banking structure. These are things that they all have happened at the same time, and they're reinforcing each other.
Let me ask you, Raquel Garrido, we see 2 kinds of protests really against what's transpiring. On the one hand, people like that trade union leader we just heard in Rome earlier, who are saying it's not up to poor people to pay. And the other thing we're hearing is what they call a sort of a nationalist backlash against it all. 2 kinds of backlashes on either end of the spectrum. Do you get the sense that there is no common ground right now?
Clearly what's at stake is who's acting in what sphere. Are politicians using political power that they hold from democracy to indeed apply policies? I'm sure we would oppose on which are those policies to apply today. Certainly, we suggest that any contraction of the economy is a very, very bad solution that can only worsen things, that all the experiences show that what we need is to inject more money into the economy to get better wages, better pensions, more public services, more investment, etc. And that would be our position, and a firm stance against the banks and the markets, and indeed the whole financial sector that is still in the casino. I mean, they're trying to make up for the money they lost in 2008, and they transferred the private debt to the public sector because politicians, like in Greece or in Spain or in Portugal or indeed in Italy today or in France, are giving away instead of saying, listen, what is this rate about anyway in the first place? I mean, we have educated people, a strong workforce, we have infrastructure, we have whatever we need to produce, and so what if someone's saying that we're not AAA? It's just a stage, a theater, and the role of politicians is to put some sense into that and to say, no, we will not accept your pressure, we will not accept your game, your rules, and whoever wants to lend us money has to abide by our rules, and we're going to effectively stop the mess. You were saying that the markets wanted to stop the mess. Well, first of all, recognize that they're the ones who put us there in the first place. But today, politicians, and especially the left, the European left, need to be very firm so that the austerity doesn't go further and have bad effects not only in Europe, but all around the world, indeed.
Yorgo Chatzimarkakis, thanks for joining us now from Brussels. How bad is it, first off?
It's quite bad off. I think there is no silver bullet, but someday, in 5 years' time, we might look back at this autumn, September 2011, and ask ourselves whether we did the right thing. We have one last chance as politicians now, and this last chance has to be the right bullet. Unfortunately, the previous speaker was absolutely right. The politicians and politics did not set the right fence. And now we have to make clear that we are reliable. The politicians have to show reliability. Up to now we have seen measures that have been announced, weak measures that have been taken away again. So, and I would like especially to mention the duo Sarkozy and Angela Merkel, which come up with some ideas. This is the wrong approach. I think we have strong European institutions, and we should now give over the responsibility to the existing European institutions, like the European Commission, like the European Parliament, and stop having national approaches like the Franco-German approach or other approaches prevail.
All right, so not of Berlin and Paris deciding for the rest of Europe. In a speech before the Bundestag this Tuesday, Germany's finance minister insisted once again that austerity right now is the only cure for the Eurozone. Wolfgang Schäuble unequivocally against the concept, for instance, of pooling the public debt across the continent with the creation of so-called Eurobonds.
We cannot and must not equalize the interest rates because they're the best incentive for solidity. Differing interest rates are what allow us to enforce additional requirements, and that's why, for the time being, we cannot abandon them.
Bruno Jean-Bart, what's the mood when it comes to belt tightening and when it comes to concept of, for instance, pooling the debt?
Well, I think that it's still debates that which are very far away from the French public opinion and generally from the European public opinion.
It's a bit abstract.
Yes, but what is clear is that what we have seen in the past years is a decline of confidence in the politicians, and it's clear that I think that this crisis will increase this crisis of confidence in the politicians, and it's becoming very dangerous, of course. In democratic countries like France, when you have so many people who are thinking that politicians can't do anything on economic issues and on social issues, and they just can follow the movement, of course, because it creates some low turnout, it creates some despair, and obviously it's also always profiting to extremist movements politically. And for example, in many countries in Europe, in the last years, we have seen growing up far-right movements or populist movement on the right.
In just a quick question on that, in 8 months' time, there's a presidential election in this country. Last time around, there was 85% turnout in the first round. Are you saying there will be lower turnout as a result? People are just going to turn away from politics?
I'm pretty sure of that, because for two reasons. Because, for example, first reason is the fact that 2007 was a kind of exception. If you look at the trends in the turnout, it's declining on every election. 2007 for the general election, after the presidential, was the lowest turnout for this kind of election. The local election of 2008, 2009, 2010, 2011 were the lowest in the history. So I think it's going to be lower. It will be very high because it's a presidential election and the French, they like this election. But I'm sure that
it's going to be lower.
Less.
It's interesting, though, to see that the debate is on economical issues that, as it happened in 2005 with the Constitutional Treaty, can be an issue that the French get a grip on. And when you start talking about percentage in deficits, and the Socialist Party says, okay, we will apply the golden rule by 2013, and you start saying, okay, so if you want to lower deficits, how are you going to take the money? Where are you going to take the money? So Mélenchon and Partie de Gauche, Front Gauche, we say we want to tax capital the same as we tax labor. So how do you guys want to get the money inside? So I think there's a point today where, because all those figures are being thrown into the opinion to the public, well, you might see the French actually get hold of those figures and say, listen, people are telling me that our debt is unsustainable because it's 85% of the gross.
So you're getting a sense that people are getting a grip on the subject.
Yes, okay. certainly, and it can be very good, and it will at the end signify. Although I have to say that all those who are today pretending that the only way forth is austerity, that there is no other solution than to put on that show for the markets, and they will probably get very low turnouts and scores at the election. What we need today is parties who are saying exactly what we need. So what we need is for the European Central Bank to actually buy Greek bonds at 1%. What we need is to get money inside of the Treasury by taxing this or this and that. That's what we need to be saying. And I mean, there is room for democracy and politics and all of that.
Ali Fatemi, do you agree when the German finance minister says that we can't go to Eurobonds right now? It's not a good idea.
Well, that has always been the position of the Germans, and it's understandable, because under present conditions, Germany has the most solid economy in Europe, and the interest that you pay is inversely proportional to your credit. The Germans have good credit. Now, if they go for Eurozone, which I personally favor, I've said that on this program many times, there's no other way, the overall interest rate that has to be paid goes higher. And therefore, the Germans will pay higher. So he is defending the German position, but it is not tenable. Now, but in answer to my colleague here, your solution is fine. I wish it could be done. But it can't when you want to make the size of government bigger, when you want to hire people in the public sector. All those things are fine. But where are you going to get the money?
Let me ask Yorgo Chatzimarkakis about this. Do you get a sense, where is public opinion in your country when it comes to, for instance, this concept of pooling the debt?
I think public opinion is where the finance minister was in the German Bundestag today. So the majority of Germans doesn't want that the public debt is unified all over Europe. The legal system does not allow for a very fast Eurobond introduction. That's the problem. So it would anyhow take some years, and everybody in Germany thinks that the Eurobond discussion is not the right answer to the crisis now. So we have to get out of the crisis first, but then, and that's a very constructive discussion which is taking place in Germany, after the crisis has been managed, the Eurobond issue, of course a certain Eurobond, up to 60% of public debt, like written down in the Maastricht Treaty, is possible and can be possible. And I think we should go for that direction to overcome the crisis and then restart the debate again. Mr. Schäuble is absolutely right. And you must also understand we had local or regional elections in Germany on Sunday, and the ruling coalition of my party, of the Free Democrats, and the party of Mr. Schäuble and Chancellor Merkel lost together 12 points. So that's a lot, and this is a very typical reaction after such regional and very important elections in Germany. It's a typical reaction that, well, you have a populist approach rather than anything else.
All right, so not never, but not now. Ali Fatah.
Yeah, may I just answer that briefly? You know, in economics now, it's like in politics. The choice is not between good and bad. It's between bad and worse. If we don't do the Eurozone, the Euro system may collapse. And if that collapses, everybody is going to lose. The Germans are going to lose, the French are going to lose. Nobody gains if the Euro breaks up. That's the problem. It's Eurozone, of course, is difficult. But is there another suggestion that has come up which is more solid than that, which can save the Euro from collapsing?
Well, what we've been saying is that there is another euro. Another euro is possible. What we're hearing today about changing even the treaties to put even more golden rule, equilibrium, a prohibition of deficits inside is a very bad way forth, because what's actually happening is that you have the governments, especially the German government, which is, I mean, historically crazy, putting 18% rates on peoples of Greece and other places. I mean, that is totally unsustainable. And what is unsustainable is that you would have a government, an elected official, telling the people, this must go on. This is normal. This is normal that we, the Commerzbank, it's totally crazy.
It may not be as crystal clear as that. We're going to get to that just very briefly before we go to the break. Bruno Jeanbart, how does public opinion in France and in the rest of Europe feel about the common currency right now?
Well, in France there has always been a controversy since the adoption of the euro. I mean, it's clear that you still have a lot of people who think that the euro is the cause of the inflation in the past years, that it has been not very good for the country and for the French economy. But also there is you can't, for the moment, but it can change, find a majority to say we have to give up euro. So that's why it's there is a kind of paradox in the French public opinion.
When we come back, we're going to look at some of the solutions for saving the euro, some that go quite far. Stay with us. The France 24 debate continues.